I think that given where we are in this election season, there are no more hypotheticals. And so for us as voters who are looking at this, and for those like Stephen Smith and others who are just trying to grapple with what's going on, is to be very practical and see the country and this election for what it is. And there are very clear contrasts. And so it's really a matter of introspection for those who are undecided to just say, well, what do I really care about? What is best for my family or my kids, for our community, and for a future in the country that we can celebrate and be proud of. And again, in my view, when we kind of take away whatever the personal feelings or emotions are and just see this moment for what it is, the choice starts to become very clear.
So as you're going around with this book, and again, the subtitle, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. It's pretty clear on what the messaging is on this thing. So the people that are coming up to you that probably feel the same way, are they telling you they are going to vote Republican for the first time now? Or are they just saying they're not going to vote? Are they saying they're going to vote for RFK? Like, what are you getting?
All different responses. I'm maybe one or two people might have said, I just might stay home. And that just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And so I always give a very compelling argument and to push back. Even some friends of mine who serve in the military, who've never voted before for as long as they've been in the military, I just tell them like, hey, I respect, for whatever reason you made that choice, you have to vote in this. Like, if you love our country as I know you do, you have to vote in this election. So, it's different responses. Some people are just saying like, I don't know if I can vote for Biden this time, maybe things will be different. And I was like, no, it's going to get worse. If they're allowed to stay in power, it will get many, many times worse, because they will run around the country and say, well, the American people have given us a mandate to continue the great work we've been doing. And so everything we've seen over these last few years, it's just going to ratchet up radically and quickly. Many are unsure what they want to do. There are people who are drawn to RFK. There are people who recognize that even if they didn't vote or even consider voting for Trump in the past, they recognize that President Trump is best positioned at this time to be able to, number one, stop the Democrat elite from destroying our country, which is the most important task before us, and then frankly to create some serious disruption in the Washington establishment.
So we'll get to the Trump guy and then I want to talk about some non-political stuff too. But I had RFK in that chair just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And my hope,
was that the first time you met him?
It was the first time we had met no. I had interviewed him one other time in person and then one time on Skype. And he's a
wonderful
guy.
Person. He's a wonderful person.
The feeling that I have in here with you, it's the same thing. It's like, this is a decent man, and whatever, I disagreed with him on the affirmative action decision, Supreme Court, and we got into it a little bit. And he actually kind of by the end was, I think, coming a little more to my side, but it struck me as just irrelevant in a weird way. It was we both loved the country.
That fact right there. I mean, the fact that he's open-minded to listen and to be convinced that, hey, maybe there's a better solution here that you haven't considered is, I think, one of his great qualities.
And he means it too.
Yeah,
and by the way, I mean, you mentioned his uncle. It was like that. He represents what that party used to be and is not anymore. But I think there was perhaps a moment where there could have been a little alliance there. Is that kind of off the table in terms of him running and all that?
Yeah, I really do respect him. And like you said, I mean, he is a sincere person who really does care about our country and who shares many, if not all, but many of the same concerns that you and I have about the direction the country is headed in. Yeah, I mean, this has been made public, but he asked me if I would be his running mate, and I really did give it serious consideration, but ultimately, respectfully declined that offer.
Should I ask why? Or just
want to disrespect just the privacy of the conversations that I had with him. But broadly, my goal has been and continues to be, how and where can I best be of service and make the maximum positive impact that I can for the country? And that's the basis for my decisions.
So with that in mind, what do you think the Republicans can do better? That would maybe, I consider myself a Florida Republican. I was very proud to register as a Republican here, but I know what that means. It's very obvious what it means. It means you believe in law and order and you love the country and you want secure elections, all the things, like it's just done right here. So I can say that. I never say I'm a national Republican or something like that. But it seems to me that the Republicans need to start doing some other things right. They have to make the messaging on abortion even is just so messy. What is it that you think they could adjust on so that someone like you, if not you specifically, could say, all right, I'll vote Republican going forward?
You know, there are, I think the most important thing is really become that open big tent party that is welcoming of people from a lot of different backgrounds, that doesn't name call Democrats, all of the different labels that I've been called over the years and many others, that recognizes really what our founders envisioned for us, which is, you know, just as they had many disagreements on a whole bunch of different things and had very public arguments about those disagreements, ultimately they came together around those fundamental principles of freedom, of the rule of law, of a limited role of government, of ensuring the protection of individual liberty, and so on. I think there's an opportunity there for the Republican Party to go and make that case to people all across the country. 43% of Americans are unaffiliated with either party, as of a poll of like a week ago, Gallup poll. 43% of Americans. That means instead of doing the usual fear-mongering of, well, don't vote for these guys because they're the bad guys, there is an opportunity there to rekindle that fire of what it means to be an American, to inspire hope, and to focus on actual solutions. Yes, there are very real problems that I go into in my book. Every chapter is dedicated to, there's a chapter dedicated to how the Democrats are racializing everything and using identity politics to tear us apart. There's a chapter dedicated to how they defy the existence of objective truth in our society. And every issue that I bring up is not a partisan issue. It's something that every one of us as Americans should be concerned about, and also talks about solutions. And I think if the Republican Party, clearly the Democrats are not interested in that. That's just fact. At least the Democrat leadership in Washington. There is an opportunity for the Republican Party to speak to those 43% of unaffiliated voters, to the disenfranchised Democrats, to those who cherish peace and freedom and really care for our country, and recognize, like, hey, no, we might not agree on some issues, a lot of issues, or even some really important ones. But if we can come together and recognize that now is the moment, not a moment, but the moment where we must take a stand together to defend freedom and to defend democracy and defend liberty, let's stand together and do that, and then and be open to have those dialogue and conversations where we can learn more about each other and why we hold the views that we do, and find and forge that path forward together as a country.
So since he's the head of the party, I mean, do you think Trump can do that effectively?
I think there is an opportunity to do that in his own way. He obviously has his own way of delivering a message.
Yeah.
But I think some of the things that we've already seen of how he's making decisions to go and venture into, you know, Atlanta, cities where a Republican nominee or presumptive nominee normally wouldn't put in their top 10 list of places to go and campaign, reaching out to folks who, like he did in 2016, where Democrats took people for granted, and, you know, showing up, says that I care, and says, come and join us.
What do you think the last step has to be for some of the people that can't make that full move that people like you and I made? I don't know if you saw this week, but Stephen A. Smith from ESPN, who's been, he's basically been a liberal Democrat his whole life. He's really been waking up. And then he said something earlier this week about Black people starting to vote for Trump, or at least breaking away from the Democrat Party. Yeah. He got hit over the head by the lefty media, and then he apologized. But then he sort of made the case again. He apologized while also still making the same case. And I was watching it going, I've been there, man. Like, I get it. Do you think there's something that those people need just in that last little push?
I think it's just...
Or do you think it's Trump specifically in that if it was a candidate that was, say, less polarizing than Trump, that was one of my arguments for DeSantis, was that it was like, this guy, you can't say, well, you can say whatever you want, but none of the crazy stuff is true about him, or the language, or all that.
I think that given where we are in this election season, there are no more hypotheticals. And so for us as voters who are looking at this, and for those like Stephen Smith and others who are just trying to grapple with what's going on, is to be very practical and see the country and this election for what it is. And there are very clear contrasts. And so it's really a matter of introspection for those who are undecided, to just say, well, what do I really care about? What is best for my family or my kids, for our community, and for a future in the country that we can celebrate and be proud of. And again, in my view, when we kind of take away whatever the personal feelings or emotions are and just see this moment for what it is, the choice starts to become very clear. Because we know exactly what will happen if President Biden and Kamala Harris are allowed to remain in power. And it will take, this flickering of the light of liberty that we see happening right now, and we are facing that light being completely exterminated.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop screaming, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.